welcome to week 4 of A Pathway to a Positive Special Needs Outcome, a collaboration between Vista Points and Strategic Financial Partners. I will be your host tonight. My name is Tyler Page. We are finally to week 4, and I am very excited about tonight's topic. We have learned a lot in the last 3 weeks. We learned the importance of meeting with a financial planner. We learned what is a special needs trust, and we learned what a special needs trust pays for. All that is great, but you can't have a special needs trust if you do not fund it properly. Carolyn Fleury with Strategic Financial Partners will answer this tonight. If you have any questions during the presentation, please press the hand button at the bottom of the screen. And at the end of the presentation, I will call on you. Carolyn, take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Tyler, and good evening, everyone. It is so nice to have you here for the last of our 4 virtual seminars regarding special needs trusts that we are collaborating, as Tyler said, with Vista Points, the Special Needs Trust and Resource Center. And for all those who have been on for the last 4 weeks, we will be sending you via email or regular mail, depending on what you like, a certificate showing your completion of our 4 seminars here. So as Tyler said, my name is Carolyn Fleury. I'm a financial planner with Strategic Financial Partners. And as most of you know, people of any age living with a physical, mental, or intellectual disability require special financial plans. So today I'm going to talk specifically about how to fund a special needs trust, when to fund a special needs trust, who can fund a special needs trust, and how much money you should put into a special needs trust. So just to review again, why set up a special needs trust? A special needs trust allows a family to set aside assets, protect those assets, create a financial protection for the loved ones or other family members in your family. And I'm sure you all have those moments that we wake up in the middle of the night and we worry about all those what ifs. What if I can't take care of my special needs child, spouse, loved one? What would happen if I became disabled as a caregiver? So by planning today for life's what ifs, you can not only have a peace of mind, but you can also protect your loved ones financially. Setting up and properly funding a special needs trust allows a family to set aside funds in a trust so the money that the trust can be used for all those extras that you want for your loved ones, even after the death of you, the parent, or the caretaker or giver. Working with a financial advisor can help you create a plan. Create the building blocks to provide financial protection to enable you, again, to provide for the loved ones the lifestyle that you want to have them enjoy for the rest of their life. And if properly established and administered, the funds set aside in a trust will not impact the eligibility for or reduce funding from government assistance, such as Medicaid or Social Security income. So next question, who can fund a special needs trust? Usually it's a parent or a caretaker who usually funds by putting money or assets meaning things of value, into a trust to be used for that person with the disability, with the special needs. But it also can be funded by other family members as well. A special needs trust can also be funded, if again, properly structured, by an insurance policy. So say, for example, and I'll get into this a little more in detail, you as a caregiver have an insurance policy on yourself. When you pass, that death benefit, the claim, can be put into the special needs trust for the benefit of the disabled person. You can also designate your will to have those assets when you pass put into the special needs trust as well to be used for that beneficiary. So if a person gifts money or assets directly to a person with special needs, instead of going into a special needs trust, you could jeopardize their eligibility for Social Security as well as Medicaid. So, and that could dramatically impact their lifestyle. So, in summary, who can fund a special needs trust? It really can be anyone. It could be parents, family members, aunts, uncles. It could be your, church people. It could be your neighbors. Anyone can contribute to a trust. So, let's start with what the funds can be used for, what they can't be. In terms of what they cannot be used for, when you have set up a special needs trust, they should not be used for what I call the basic needs, such as housing, medical treatments that are covered by Medicaid and Social Security income. You should not use the funds in special needs trusts for all those things those government subsidies use for, because if you do, you could impact and basically make your loved one with special needs ineligible for those government subsidies. And it's very important to work with a professional, your attorney, also your financial planner, to regarding the wording of a special needs trust, because the wording in terms of what that is used for, what the direction and the intent of the funds for the special needs trust going to is very important, because if you don't get it right, and I've seen this happen, it can jeopardize your eligibility again for your public benefits, and we don't want that. So what are allowable purchases from the money that you have in a special needs trust? They can be used for special furniture, medical and health costs not covered by Medicaid and Social Security. Can be used for experimental or alternative medical treatment, massage therapy, vitamins, certain medical equipment and special aids. Again, it could be, maybe the newest thing that again not covered by government fundamentals. It could be used for bowling shoes. I had a cousin that used to love to bowl. He had special needs. It cannot be used for regular shoes, but his parents had set up a special needs trust, and he loved to go bowling. I want to say it was almost twice a week. And if you go bowling twice a week, he would drag his left foot and wear down that shoe. So I want to say every 6 months, his mother had to buy him new bowling shoes. And she was able to use the funds from a special needs trust to do that. You can also use your funds from a special needs trust for computers, especially more high-tech computers with different software, depending upon if you need maybe a visual or an audio amplification on those, that can be used for it as well. Their favorite sporting game, their activities, vacations, summer camps, and travel companions as well. So you can usually use for most cases, you're allowed to have one travel companion accompany the special needs disabled person on a vacation. My mother did not set up a special needs trust, and I wish she did, because about 2 years before she passed, I had to fly her from Florida up to my nephew, her grandson's wedding. This was the first grandchild that got married, and he got married in Colorado. And from a logistic perspective with my work, I couldn't get myself down to Florida to pick her up and then bring her to Colorado, and she could not travel by herself. So I had to pay out of pocket for a companion to take my mother from Florida. I think they changed planes in Chicago and then went to Denver. I also had to pay for that companion's room for the weekend, for the wedding weekend, and then their return trip as well. And again, it came out of my pocket. I was very blessed because I knew she wanted to be at my nephew, her first grandson's wedding. So it meant the world to me. But again, if you had a special needs trust set up, you could use funds for that one companion. There are certain circumstances where you can have more than one, but I think we've touched on that beforehand. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at the end. So anyway, companion um, fees in terms of airplane and travel is covered by a special needs trust. Trusts can also be used in terms of the funds to pay for emergency legal costs in the event, say, the beneficiary is sued or charged with a crime, or even if you need a special advocate, say you need to hire some attorneys to help deal with some of the government and medical red tape, you can use the funds from a special needs trust to cover that as well. So then the question, how to fund a special needs trust? You can put family savings, meaning your money cash from your savings account, checking account. You can transfer stocks into it, bonds, mutual funds, CDs, military benefits, IRAs, meaning retirement accounts. Even real property can be transferred into a special needs trust. And parents and other family members can name the trust as the beneficiary in their wills or even your life insurance, as I mentioned before. And so basically, it doesn't have to be a family member. Say you've got the child's godparent who is not related to you. That godparent can name their life insurance or their in their will as certain assets going to your child with special needs as the beneficiary. So this is important because if you don't have a special needs trust set up and you have not named your loved one as a beneficiary, if you as a caretaker were to pass and all of your assets went directly to your loved one with special needs, things could dramatically change for the worse. Because an inheritance, regardless of what size, and again, it's dependent on the situation, can disqualify, again, disqualify the person living with a disability from the public benefits that he or she needs and honestly deserves for their basic needs. And what happens if that person, your loved one, is disqualified? That means, yes, they might have inherited, say, $100,000 of stocks and bonds from you. Well, then they're no longer eligible for their day-to-day basic needs, and they have to use that $100,000. That's all they have. They've got to use that. And that $100,000 is not going to last them probably more than 2 or 3 years, depending upon your extras going on. So there is the chance that you will run out of money if you become ineligible for public funding. So then the big question, and this is the crux of my tonight's talk, is how much money should I fund? How much money should I put into a special needs trust? And this is a very individual decision, and it's based on many factors. First of all, it's based on the age of the person with special needs. And why is this important? Because if the person with a disability is 18 years old and has had a disability for many years, and you think they're going to live until they're 60 years old, that's a lot of years that they're going to need that extra money besides the basics for funding their day-to-day lifestyle. Same thing goes with the age of the caretaker or the parent. If the parent is doing a lot of the work, driving the disability person around, transferring them, all those things, the day-to-day tasks, and if that older person, the parent or the caretaker, maybe is 65, 70, and you think, who knows, maybe they've got a heart disease and they really think maybe they've only got 10 years left. The older they are as a caretaker, the higher the risk that they're going to pass away. And what happens when a caretaker or parent passes away? It becomes a tremendous financial burden to not only the other family members, but also in terms of figuring out, making sure that that person with the disability has the proper funding to continue the lifestyle that you wanted. Because if you, as a caretaker, think of all the tasks that you don't charge your loved one with, the driving around, the doing the laundry, even taking care of the house, cooking the food. If you are not there to do that for your loved one with the special needs, the other people in your family would probably have to hire somebody. And that means that's going to be a monetary cost. And so that is another thing to think about in terms of if you're an older caretaker, you probably want to have a little more what I call cushion in your special needs trust fund to make sure that your loved one can be taken care of. And then we go back to, what is the quality of the desired lifestyle? Have you been giving your loved one with a disability massages every other week? Are you taking them on vacations every year? What are all those extras that you have been doing on a day-to-day, essentially year-to-year basis? And do you want to continue that? My guess is probably yes. And that comes into that question of how much money are those extras that you want to put in there? And one of the biggest unknowns when I go through financial analysis with families with special needs loved ones is it's usually the biggest unknown is the cost of housing, because usually the disabled person with special needs is living with a family member or caretaker. If the family member or caretaker passes away, what is the intention? Is that person going to move into a group home, a private group home, or into their own condo? Well, if it's in their own condo and they can take care of themselves, so maybe you're then putting aside $200,000, $300,000 to pay for the condo. You then have to think about what I call the ongoing monthly expenses to fund the condo, electric, gas, heat, etc. Maybe another $2,000 a month, and then all the extras. So that's where we say, in terms of budgeting, think about, are they going to live for 40 years? And how much are you putting out today in terms of those extras? So breaking it down a little more simply, and again, there are a lot of more variations. One situation is somebody can live on their own, but of course, if you have a special needs loved one that cannot, and their situation is unfortunately getting for the worse, and in 4 years they're going to need 24/7 care, then you're going to have to fund your special needs trust a little more, because they're going to need round the clock care maybe in 4 to 5 years. And you want to always basically protect yourself and plan for the worst what ifs. So looking at numbers, so say you had somebody that can live on their own, but is using $50,000 a year in extras for the lifestyle that you want, because you like them to go traveling, you like them to go bowling twice a month, you like them maybe to go out on the golf course, whatever their hobbies are. So say they're pulling $50,000 out a year on top of their basic needs that they're getting from Social Security and Medicaid. Say you pass and your loved one is 40 years old. They've got, let's say hypothetically, 20 years to live until they're 60. That means that when you pass, you have to have $1 million in the special needs trust at the time of your death, so that they can pull $50,000 out and not run out of money and continue the lifestyle you want. So that's how I work with a lot of clients, is figuring out, what are their goals? What are their risk tolerance? The other big factor is, what do you have in your will that is going to come into the special needs trust upon your death? Maybe you don't have to have $1 million right now, because you're going to gift, and through your will and through your life insurance, additional funds, and that's going to make up that gap when you pass away. So when I talk about risk tolerance, I really do a full, thorough analysis, figuring out what are the assets, not just what you have right now, but also what is coming down the road, to make sure that loved one can continue the lifestyle that you envisioned, and to make sure that they can not run out of money. And a trust can be set up almost like a checking account, to simplify things, in which things can be put in. You can put things in on a monthly basis. You can put things in on a one-time basis as well. And they can also be withdrawn just as for the whatever the how it's worded in terms of legal terms and what its designation is for the beneficiary. And another thing to think about too is the records that you keep on how you spend the money in a trust can serve as a very valuable guide for how you want the money to be spent for your loved one when you are not there. So if you have a track record, and hopefully you've had things put in writing, we've talked about the importance of setting up a will and trusts and beneficiaries and power of attorneys and all that. But even just the historical documentation of how things have been pulled out of the money from the trust can be a great example for whoever is taking over to help take care of your special needs loved one. And also, since many of these expenses are tax deductible, keeping a good record and documenting everything that you pull out of the special needs trust can be very beneficial from a tax perspective. So I often get a question of, my child has special needs or was recently diagnosed, but with some sort of disability, but does not yet qualify for Social Security or Medicaid. Should you start a special needs trust, and can you start funding it? Well, the question is absolutely yes. If you all were on 3 weeks ago, and I think we even talked about it each week, timing is so critical. You got to start now. And you can start funding your special needs trust if you have something that's been someone's been diagnosed. You don't have to start pulling the money out if you don't need to, but you can start building that up. And based again on the age of the caretaker, the age of the disabled person, determines the risk tolerance in terms of what those investments are. For example, say you got a bonus of $30,000 from work, you put that in there, but your child just got diagnosed. So, we have a little bit of time. We may want to be a little bit more aggressive, or we might start funding it month to month if you know that you're going to start pulling it out on a daily basis or monthly basis, depending upon your need. I also look at, when it comes to risk tolerance, again, what are your other assets? What other equity do you have? When I say assets, what could be sold for value? Maybe it's a vacation home, maybe it's your primary home, maybe it's a tractor that you have. All the things that have value that you can sell for basically cash or value are assets. And that's where you got to look at the whole pictures, figure out what those assets are. Some of them are not liquid, meaning it might take a month to sell a tractor, depending upon the time of year, especially with a house. It might take a couple of months to sell a house. So you want to look at also the diversification in terms of, do you have liquid assets that you can start pulling the money out of? Because you don't want everything in your special needs trust to be illiquid, meaning you can't pull out, that you have to wait 6 months, because bills might start coming in before 6 months, and then you're not going to be in a good situation. So again, risk tolerance really comes into play in terms of looking at the whole picture of the family and all the assets. So steps to consider in summary, it's so important when you have somebody with a special needs to create a team. And that includes medical professionals understanding what the diagnosis is, what the prognosis is, caregivers. Is it now just 4 hours a week? What do they think? Do they think it's on a decline? Is it going to be 8 hours a week next week? Attorneys, again, making sure you have the language in these special needs trust properly spelled out so there are no confusions. And then the financial professionals, to make sure you grow the assets when you put them in there, figuring out a plan how to put the money in there, grow it according to your risk tolerance. Number two is so critical. It's review. And I would say, yeah, I always do an annual review, but let's be real. Life happens. We can't control it. We've certainly seen that in 2020. When life happens, it is warranting a review. So say your condition worsens, you got to review things again because your medical needs might be more expensive right now. Or maybe you get a inheritance from somebody, or you think there is going to be an inheritance. We need a plan for that. So anytime there's what I call a material change, an event in your life, is a time to review special needs trusts, your whole financial plan in general. And then again, the assets in the special needs trust, you need to prudently invest the assets because this is for the purpose of your loved one, to make sure they have the extras that you envision for them while you're here with them. And also, God forbid, when something happens to you, whether it's physically, mentally, you can't take care of them again, that they have the assets to financially live the lifestyle, live and enjoy the extras that you really wanted for them. So that is a summary of the financial how, when, why to fund a special needs trust. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Tyler, and I think we've got a couple of questions. Is that right, Tyler?
Yes, we do. The first question we got was, what do I need to do to determine my risk tolerance?
And that's a great question. Again, that is a very individual question. And the way you determine it is really, I go through, honestly, all assets that you have, meaning anything that you could sell, maybe it's tomorrow, in 6 months, a year, that has value to it, including jewelry, including land, including tractors. And I look at, how liquid is it? Meaning, could you sell it quickly? Stocks and bonds, depending upon what type it is, are liquid. Treasury bonds, cash, of course, is liquid. So looking at the liquidity, it is invested in, what do you need, looking at the whole picture, and then looking at the liabilities too. What do you have in terms of mortgage? What are the other bills you have besides your special needs loved one? What is your income coming in? Maybe it's somebody who just got a great new job and they think their income is going to double in 2 years. That has a big factor in terms of, yes, it's not a guarantee, but it could impact the risk tolerance. Again, how old they are. The older you get, the more conservative you want to be, because the chance of something happening to you increases. So you want to be a little more conservative, because your time horizon has shortened. The younger you are, you've got a longer, hopefully, time to what I call withstand the ups and downs in the market volatility if you have assets in the financial stock market. There are lots of other ways to invest and grow assets outside of the stock market. Real estate, there are lots of other financial platforms as well, which I'm happy to discuss in a separate situation. But looking at the whole financial picture is really a way, along with their age, along with their goals. Some people are very happy living in a $100,000 condo, and that's fine. Some people all know they want to keep growing and keep expanding. And so balancing your goals with your financial means right now and the projections of your financial future is how I assess the risk tolerance.
It looks like we have a question from Wes Dugan. I'm going to allow you to talk. Here we go.
Okay, let me see. Okay, hold on, guys. I'm not good with this Zoom. My question is, can you guys hear me right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. A Tennessee Able account. I do have that set up for my daughter. Does that have any effect on government benefits or a special needs trust?
I'm sorry, you broke in and out there a little bit. You said you've got a Tennessee Able account?
Yes. Does it have any effect on a special needs trust and also government benefits of having one?
In terms of financial planning, in terms of what you can put in special needs trust, it has no impact. I'm actually going to, Darlene, are you on? Can you answer that from a financial perspective in terms of the government benefits? Because you're the expert on that side.
Sure. And Wes, that's a great question to ask, because a lot of people are opening ABLE accounts and it does not affect a special needs trust. In fact, someone can have an ABLE account. They can have a third-party special needs trust that has money gifted to them. And then they can either have a first party or a pooled special needs trust that has their own money in it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate the question. Here's the next question. Are you fee-based or is it based off a percentage of the portfolio?
That's another great question. I am not fee-based. I believe in giving back to the community, so it's based on how much we invest in. I don't charge for my services from a financial planning perspective. And so say, for example, we decide to put some of the funds in the special needs trust and certain mutual funds. It's based on how much dollar amount is in there in terms of assets.
Perfect. What information do I need to have with me when I speak to a financial advisor?
Everything. No, that's a great question. So, I always say when you work with a financial advisor, you got to find somebody that you trust, you like, because it's not going to be a one-time meeting. It is going to be back and forth. And I never make any recommendations on the first meeting, honestly. I often ask, come with a summary of your assets and liabilities, how much you make in terms of income. If you can, hopefully you have a budget and you can tell me sort of how much you spend for yourself, but also for your loved one with special needs. Trying to get that big picture financially. What I usually do then is then take it and put it into a spreadsheet. And then that always begs other questions. What other parents do you have? Do other family members want to help with a loved one? So it is not you have to trust the person, because I will know not everything you spend it on, but the budget, the assets. I'm here to be an advisor and I don't judge, and to try to help you figure out how to best fund a special needs trust based on where you are and what your goals are. And everybody's goals are different. As I said, some people want to spend $50,000 extra on their loved ones because they want to make sure their loved one goes on vacation and goes bowling. And some other people are happy living in say $100,000 condo and not doing anything. So it's all based on their lifestyle and what their goals are. But the more, the better in terms of bringing information to the initial meeting. I usually, and hopefully if you find a financial advisor that you trust, will guide you in terms of some of the initial information. And again, as I said, it's never, or I don't think it should be, because there should be other questions that come up that they're like, oh, I didn't think about this. It's an ongoing thing. And then if you develop that relationship, as I said, life happens. It's not going to be done, see you later. It should be at least an annual review, if not, when life happens, when the stock market changes, volatility happens, life happens, you should have that ongoing conversation with your financial advisor. So great question. Thank you.
Can I make the beneficiary of my life insurance policy the trust to pay the taxes that the beneficiary may incur at my death?
I think I understand the question. So what happens when, backing up to life insurance, when somebody dies, say the parent dies, the proceeds from the life insurance, meaning the death benefit, is tax-free. So if it is going to an individual, as I said, hopefully you're not just putting your son with special needs or disability as the direct beneficiary, because that could jeopardize their basic government subsidies. But whoever's receiving the death benefit, that money from an insurance policy is tax-free. A lot of people get out insurance policies to help pull that money out tax-free to pay other taxes in the estate upon their death. If it goes directly into a trust, that goes into the special needs trust tax-free. So a lot of people, depending upon, again, every situation is complex. I've seen people have multiple insurance policies. One is designated to pay the taxes for the whole estate. One, the death benefit is going into the special needs trust to help fund Johnny for the next 20 years so he can pull out $50,000 a year. So there are lots of different variations, but in general, the death benefit from life insurance policies are tax-free.
I got a question just emailed from Wes Dugan again. Any special wording or documentation on life insurance policies on how to list beneficiaries where there is a smooth transition to trust?
You definitely, and I'll bring Darlene or Bill in here, but you definitely want to make the beneficiary the exact name of the trust. So you just don't name the son or the daughter with special needs, but you actually have to put the name of the trust as the beneficiary in there. And I'm a big fan too of having secondary and even tertiary beneficiaries as beneficiaries in a life insurance policy. Darlene, or Bill, did you want to comment on that at all?
I'll be glad to add in some information. Included in that, besides the life insurance policy, is the will. Usually when a will is written and there's more than one child that the parent is wanting to leave money to, the child with special needs has to have a clause in the will that excludes them from receiving the money. And then a new paragraph is written where the money is put directly into the special needs trust for that child.
And it looks like we have another question from Wes as well. Is it a good idea to have the trust in place, even though majority of funding will come from life insurance or inheritance? Does it make a smooth and quick transition in death of caretaker?
Yes, absolutely. And again, my point was, I touched on it briefly. I mean, I could keep talking for hours, but I know your time is precious. But even if your child has just been diagnosed or your loved one's just been diagnosed, it is so important. Timing is so imperative to getting things set up earlier rather than later, for a couple of reasons. Even if you're not using the funds, you have that trust name set up. And it does take some time to get all those legal documents prepared, signed, filed. And if you don't have that, there's no, if you as a caregiver pass, there's no saying, well, I wanted to put it there. That doesn't hold up in a court of law. And therefore, if you don't have a trust set up, you can't change your will or your life insurance policy beneficiary to name that specific trust. So absolutely, it's so important to set up that special needs trust earlier rather than later, today versus tomorrow. Darlene, did you want to add anything on that one too?
I agree with you. We have many of our clients establish a special needs trust and they fund it with just $1. Now, if the beneficiary receives money, that's their personal money, they can add that at any time. If people are wanting to make gifts, then a third party supplemental needs trust is established. But Carolyn, I agree with you fully that it's good to set up the special needs trust before the parent passes.
And here's a question for, I guess, everybody. Are y'all open to meeting in person, or are you totally virtual?
I'll start that. I mean, I am flexible. I'm blessed. I've got a healthy family, so I'm totally open for a meeting in person, but I totally respect people's needs. If we have to do Zoom calls, we have become experts at that now, so I'm happy to do that. But or drive somewhere, meet in person outside. I personally am flexible.
For Vista Points, we are the same. We are flexible. We do meet with clients. We have clients come to the office. We will try to set 6 feet apart, and we also take temperatures before we meet when they arrive. If the temperature is high, we will ask them to leave and then set up a Zoom call. But the flexibility allows for people to come in, get to know the staff and me, and ask questions. Sometimes they like doing that because it's considered more secure and private than talking through a Zoom call. But whatever they prefer, we'll work with them.
And unless there's any hand raises, this will be the last question of the night. My dad lives in North Carolina. Do you only meet with people in Tennessee? I guess this is open for whoever wants to respond.
I'll start on the financial side of things. No, I work with clients all over the US. I'm licensed in almost every single state in the United States. So location does not matter. And again, whether it's doing a Zoom or doing I've got clients all over. So if I have to drive somewhere, if somebody wants to meet in person, I can certainly tag that on or just make it a fun vacation. But location does not matter from a financial advisory planning perspective in terms of what clients and where they are that I can assist with.
From the VistaPoint stand, we are licensed for our pooled trust to work in the state of Tennessee. For our first party and third parties, depending on the rules of the state, we can work with other clients. But VistaPoints has a national resource center. And so we can refer a client to an attorney to help them to establish a special needs trust in their area. And then we can also refer to any type of financial advisor, such as Carolyn.
Perfect. And that's the end of the questions. And let's open it up to the staff at VistaPoints to do some closing remarks.
Well, thank you, Tyler. On behalf of VistaPoint Special Needs Trust and Resource Center, we want to thank you for joining us in our first 4-part class. If you have attended all 4 classes, you will receive an email with a certificate of completion within the next week. Videos of each class will be posted on the VistaPoint's YouTube channel and our website. We encourage you to share these videos with your friends and family members. It will help them to have a better understanding of estate planning, investing, and special needs trust. Through this class, we have learned about many topics such as why someone should meet with a financial advisor, how a financial advisor can help a person invest their money, when to consider investing for a family member with special needs or a disability. We've learned about the definitions of 3 types of special needs trust, how a special needs trust may be used as a financial tool, investing, when a special needs trust is established, and lastly, what happens when a special needs trust closes or the beneficiary dies. Now, Bill will give you a summary of the 3 types of special needs trust.
Thanks, Darlene. Well, it has been a great 4 weeks. I particularly enjoyed last week when we got a chance to play yes, no, and maybe so. But my assignment tonight is really to leave you with a good idea of what the 3 different types of special needs trusts are and briefly tell you the differences. So we talked a lot tonight about third-party trusts. And in my mind, that typically is the one that I would think of if I didn't know too much about special needs trusts. I know that parents and grandparents can formulate a special needs trust for that child that maybe is living with a disability. Maybe it's Down syndrome or cerebral palsy. You're concerned about how that grandchild or child is going to basically get through life once they lose the ability to earn a living for themselves. So we think in terms of a gift. Parents and grandparents love to give gifts. So the third party trust is how you gift the funding for a special needs trust. That's about as simple as I can make it. The nice thing about it is there is absolutely no Medicaid payback whatsoever because all the money has been gifted. So first party trusts, in my mind, the beneficiary is number 1. So if you're number 1, it's a first party trust and you have to fund it yourself. So a beneficiary funds the first party trust themselves using either their savings or inheritance. Maybe they were in a bad automobile accident and that's why they need a special needs trust. Sometimes those end up in court and the jury, has a wonderful settlement to help you get through the rest of life. That settlement money would go into a special needs trust. So again, we talked about insurances. Maybe you inherited money. Maybe you won the lotto. That's the fun part about it. We've seen all these different circumstances and they have the ability to fund a first party trust. And now I'm going to use my friend Teresa's example. So a pooled trust, hey, we're all in the same pool. We're all on different floaties. So when you're on a different floaty, that means you have a separate account for you, but we're all in the same pool. So those accounts' monies are pooled together, if you will, and invested so that everybody who is in the pool earns a higher rate of return. You get a higher quality investment that might return just a little extra money if you were investing just on your own. So that is kind of the wrap up. I'm going to turn it over to Teresa. She's going to give us a synopsis of how to use that money in a special needs trust once the beneficiary dies. What happens to those funds? Teresa, take it away.
There we go. Teresa needs to get off mute. Thanks, Bill. Congratulations to everybody that's gone through the 4 weeks with us. You've taken those first steps, first and foremost, to learn why you need a financial advisor. We've been blessed to have Carolyn and Tyler with us to be able to show what you're looking for. You want a financial advisor that you trust, that you feel comfortable with, quite honestly, that's willing to come and meet with you on your terms so that you feel comfortable with what you're doing. Understanding that special needs trust may be a part of what they discuss with you, especially if you have a beneficiary that lives with either a physical, mental, or intellectual disability, one that's not going to get better, one that's permanent or progresses to the worst side as it goes along. It is not only normal for a family to be concerned about their loved one and how they're going to function or maintain their quality of life, especially when they have a disability. However, we often find the biggest concern is what's really going to happen with the money in the special needs trust when that family member dies. That's a big question everyone has. For a beneficiary who has that first party or pool trust, there is a Medicaid payback because it is yours. So basically what that means to you is your trustee will report to the state that they're holding the trust, the money that's in there, and the state will review how much money they paid out for the loved one, the beneficiary, and often they will go ahead and ask for reimbursement for that money. Once that is done, your trustee will look at that then, look at administrative fees that might be holding to close the trust. They're also going to look at any invoices that might have been in hand through the date of death, and they're going to pay those so that everything is well documented up until the time that your loved one passes. At that point in time, your trustee will release the money to the remainder beneficiaries. Most often, that's your other family members that were listed at the time that the trust was established. Sometimes it may be another nonprofit organization that's actually listed to receive that money. Keep in mind your trustee will, and maybe even underline must, follow the guidelines that are listed in that agreement, keeping within the laws and the guidelines of the state as well. For the beneficiary who has a third-party supplemental special needs trust, money is dispersed without any Medicaid payback because, as Bill says, That third party trust came from somebody else. It's gifts, it's not your assets. So those are often looked at as your financial planner looks. They want to be sure that we're getting the very best benefit that will be there for your loved one. So that is the difference in that third party supplemental special needs trust. No Medicaid payback. The money goes to the beneficiary, and then when they pass away, it goes to your secondary beneficiaries that are listed. It is important for you to consider and utilize a trustee that knows the laws related to special needs trust. We often find people calling saying, the job of being a trustee is way more than I thought I was signing up for. There's checks, there's laws, there's time frames, there's filings that have to be done. I can't handle this. Because of that, and them not knowing the laws that are there, we often recommend and talk to financial planners, families, attorneys, everybody about the benefit of utilizing a professional trustee. Not only are they your trustee, that trustee has a fiduciary responsibility, which means they must follow laws. They have to provide the best management possible for that trust. There are no exceptions. They must do the very best that they can possibly do. The trustee's goal is to provide the beneficiary with a good quality of life. We want the family to have peace of mind that their loved one is in good hands always. Thank you for joining us through this 4-part class. I know some got all 4, some joined us late. Those videos will be available. If nothing else from this session, we hope that you've learned that it takes a team to manage your finances, and it takes a professional team, but one that you feel like is almost adding another family member into your family. That family member you can trust to give you qualified and professional resources that will be best for your loved one. If you have additional questions or comments, please call Carolyn and Tyler at Strategic Financial Partners. As you've seen, they've got the answers for you, and they're more than willing to go that extra mile to make you feel comfortable. The Vista Points team, we stand ready, willing, and able to answer those questions that you have. It may not be related to a special needs trust at all. Our resource center is there, and we want to be able to help you and guide you in a time that can be chaos, and we just want to turn it into clarity. We thank you for being with us. We hope that you have had your questions answered. If not, please get with us. You can call us after the event is over. You can email us. We look forward to hearing from you. And for our team, we wish you a wonderful good night. Thank you.